Hello. Well, there was a time when people with intellectual disabilities lived in society's shadows. Many were hidden in homes and institutions without the chance to go to school or go to work. But that began to change in the late 1960s, thanks to a woman named Eunice Kennedy Shriver. The sister of President John F. Kennedy, she founded the Special Olympics to celebrate the abilities of those who had previously been shunned. The movement is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. In a moment, I'll be joined by Eunice's son. But first, I just want to show you part of her speech at the first Special Olympics in 1968.
In ancient Rome, the gladiators went into the arena with these words on their lips: "Let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt." Today, all of you young athletes are in the arena. Many of you will win, but even more important, I know you will be brave and bring credit to your parents and to your country. Let us begin the Olympics. Thank you.
That very first speech by Eunice Kennedy Shriver. Well, today the Special Olympics puts on more than 100,000 events, with World Games held every 2 years. The next is hosted by Abu Dhabi in March 2019. Well, with me is Tim Shriver, son of Eunice Kennedy Shriver and current chairman of the Special Olympics. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Why did your mother start this?
I think she wanted to see change in society. She had a sister with an intellectual disability. She saw tremendous injustice. She saw the shame, the stigma, the fear that families had, mothers and fathers unable to be proud of their own children. She saw the opportunity that sport could offer to change the way society saw people with intellectual differences, to in effect open these closets, as we have done in so many other areas, open these closets of shame and allow the light in. And she thought, if we all played together, maybe we would learn to see each other as gifted, as valuable, no matter what our differences might be.
So even coming from your immense and amazing family, she felt that her sister was suffering regardless in the way that she was perceived?
Well, she didn't just feel as she was. I mean, and even today, people with intellectual differences still struggle. They struggle to get into childcare programs, into schools, into employment, into community living situations. I mean, in some ways, Great Britain has been such a leader in opening the eyes of culture to different stigmas on sexual orientation, on race and culture, so many other things. Maybe this is one we haven't quite tackled yet. Intellectual disability remains a little bit of an unspoken topic. When you talk to employers, they're not sure if they hire such people. When you talk to schools, they're not sure if they should be included. It's time, we hope, on this occasion of the 50th anniversary of our movement, to open that conversation to a much broader public today in the United Kingdom.
So just talk us through what will happen in these games. These are the first in the Middle East and North Africa, I understand.
We'll have World Games. It'll be the first Olympic event ever in the Middle East and North Africa. So we'll have 172 countries in Abu Dhabi, represented by the best people, the most heroic people of those countries, and they will all be people with intellectual differences, with intellectual disabilities.
And what sort of disabilities are we talking about?
So intellectual disability and developmental disability encompasses things like Down syndrome and autism and Williams syndrome, and many people have intellectual challenges and they have no diagnosis. It's just someone who doesn't learn the same way as you might learn or as I might learn. Doesn't mean they can't be intelligent, not gifted, not capable, not wise, often more open, frequently more tolerant, often more loving, in some ways more reliable, sometimes more honest. So lots of gifts in our community of people. 200 million people around the world have an intellectual difference. So there's a lot of gifts in this community, and too many of them have been missed or hidden because of our fears.
And this started in your mother's backyard, as it were. It's grown. How's it funded? And are you finding that some countries are more supportive of it and of these communities than others?
Well, it's funded all kinds of different ways, mostly corporate and personal philanthropy. Many countries have governments that are supportive of our work. As you mentioned at the Open, we have 100,000 games a year, so our movement is a community-based movement. We try to promote inclusion in schools, child care centers, and in places of work, worship, and so on, through the power of sport. I think the bigger question, though, now is where the world is. There's almost not a day on the news where we don't talk about division and fear and intolerance and openness versus closeness, walls versus bridges. I think in this environment, The athletes of Special Olympics don't just have needs that we want society to pay attention to, they have gifts. We see the Special Olympics movement as offering their example now to the world. This is an example of people who have encountered enormous stigma, but who open their arms to others. And I hope we can teach children in schools all over the United Kingdom someday to learn to play on teams with their peers with intellectual disabilities in Special Olympics so that they can grow up and be a generation that is inclusive and welcoming of difference.
Well, talking of wars, and of course, President Trump is in the White House. Is politics, actually politics, something that you, given your family, are at all interested in? Or any other members? Joe Kennedy's been talked about.
I have a very big family with lots of people interested in lots of things. My commitment is to trying to create platforms where the power of inclusion and unity can have the proper voice it deserves, and what I think most people are looking for. I think many people are tired of the intolerance story, and many people are tired of the hate and the venom. If they look in their own community and look at the Special Olympics programs that might exist there, they might find an alternative story and a much more inspiring one.
Tim Shriver, thanks very much for coming in to us today. Very good to meet you.